Now let's take you back to one of our top stories this afternoon here on eNCA, and that is the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial, which is still underway in the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. The first witness, Forensic Officer Sgt Mosia, concluded his testimony yesterday, and the second witness, Sgt Patrick Mlungisi Mthethwa, has now taken the stand today. And just a short while ago, the court adjourned to resume tomorrow. Good afternoon, Silindelo Masikane, our reporter, of course, who's been following this story very closely inside court. Silindelo, finally we have a new witness who's taken to the stand. Just before this adjournment that happened a short while ago, just tell us, what has it been like for Mr. Mthethwa?
Well, of course, we know that Mr. Mthethwa, or should I say Sergeant Mthethwa, is one of two police officers who were the first to actually arrive at the crime scene on Nomzamo Street where Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. And essentially for most of the morning he's been detailing exactly how the call was made, how it was received, what time they left the station. He says that call for them to attend a shooting in progress, that call was received at around 7 minutes to 9, and the house in which the shooting happened isn't too far from the Vosloorus police station. He says it's about, at most, 7 kilometers away, and so it was about a 5-minute drive to arrive there. And he says when they did arrive there, of course, they found the uncle, and that is the brother to Gladness Khumalo, who is Kelly Khumalo's mother, who didn't have much information except for the fact that he also received a call to come to that house and lock it. And he says that for they didn't spend too much time at the house, Bradan, before they went to the hospital, because they were told that those who were in the house were there and they had more details around what could have happened. On their way out, they were met with neighbors who said that they had seen two suspects running towards the park, which is down the road from the house. So they went in that direction before heading to the hospital, but did not see anyone at the park. When they arrived at the hospital, they were met by a BMW, which we understand was the one used to transport Senzo Meyiwa to the hospital, but police were told that he was dead on arrival. And in fact, Mthethwa says that he did view Senzo Meyiwa's body and observed a bullet wound around his chest. So one of the details also coming out, Bradan, is the fact that at the house itself, when they had gone back, that is only when Mthethwa and his colleague Matebula secured it. So that is only when the yellow tape that we see in the photographs, that is the only time that that crime scene was essentially cordoned off. They did not cordon it off the first time around. What's also interesting are some of the contradictions, Bradan, coming out of this testimony in terms of Mosia's arrival, the forensic officer, as well as Brigadier Ndlovu. Mosia told us that he received a call 4 hours after the shooting incident had occurred, but from what we understand, from what we're hearing from Mthethwa, it seems as though Mosia in fact arrived before Ndlovu, who arrived with the task team on that night. We were told by Mosia that the task team in fact arrived the following morning after he had called them. So some contradictions coming out from there, but also quite interestingly, what Mthethwa observed in the house was the fact that it didn't look like any shooting took place. Let's take a listen.
Nazo ngokubheka kwami nje masingena endlini mangikhumbula kahle kwakungakubheka ukuthi phela khona okwenzakele lapha, ngoba naye akazi noma kwenzakele phakathi noma ngaphandle, wayengakhuluma into esile. Into engayibona nje hamba amakani amabili, amakani elantingana ini otshwala mangaphosisi kunye.
Because there was nothing that because he didn't know, he didn't know as to whether the incident occurred inside the house or outside the house, and from what we could see inside the house, one couldn't tell whether something had happened there. If I'm not mistaken, I think I just only saw 2 bottles of liquor there, if I'm not making a mistake.
What more did Mthethwa say? What did the sergeant say about the exhibits that were found there, Slee?
So we know from the testimony from Sgt Mthethwa that when they returned back to the house from the hospital, they returned with Makhumalo, that is Gladness Khumalo, who was detailing what transpired. And when they arrived at the house, of course, she then indicated that the hat that was found on the scene was from one of the perpetrators. But that is when the defense then rose, in particular Titi Tobane, actually no, rather I think it was Advocate Mshololo, to ask whether Gladness Khumalo was actually going to be called to the stand to testify with regards to what was being said by Sgt Mthethwa. Let's take a listen.
Sasise dining room kwaqhamuka umama kaKheli wathi isiqoko naso esabola abantu.
Okay, all right. It was not a matter of much of a distance between the items or the exhibits. And with regards to the head, Kelly's mother appeared with the head and said, here's the head, it belongs to these people, or it belongs to the people.
Which people?
The one who came there, my lord, and did what, or committed the incident there.
Can you just verify if Kelly's mother will be called regarding to what the witnesses just said, my lord?
As the court pleases, Sergeant, as we explained at the beginning, just testify about what you saw.
Okay, so Sergeant Mthethwa on the stand, and just before the break, I understood he'll be back tomorrow. There was a matter of a notebook or something like that, Silindelo. But for you, when you look at what happened today, what has come out of this cross-examination so far today?
So we are, of course, in the midst of the cross-examination of Sgt Mthethwa by the defense, and we're seeing Titi Tobane just asking more granular details around when this task team arrived, exactly when Mthethwa and his colleague arrived, and also questioning why they did not cordon off the crime scene on their first arrival before they left for the hospital. Also asking why one of the police officers could not stay behind. He actually put it to Mthethwa that the fact that they both left to the hospital left the crime scene open, unprotected, and, you know, open to potential contamination. Let's take a listen.
To you, for the first time, when you arrived there at the scene, you never protected the scene. Instead of doing that, you rushed to the hospital.
Zothi kuwena ke nkathi nifika lapha yana okoqala ke anizange ke isinde yana ke noma indawo yesehlakalo ni protect noma nivikeleke onakwenza nini ukuthi nje nijahele esibhedlela.
Sifike kokuqala sasothi sivikele isinyana kwenzakaleni.
We arrived for the first time. What were we going to say? What scene are we protecting? What happened?
For the benefit of the doubt, I won't answer the question, but I'll put the question to what he just said, Your Lordship. What was your purpose going to that house in the first place?
Okokuqala noma eqaleni ke nkathi niya khona lapha yana naniya nganhlosoni kwakuyini inhloso yokuthi niye lapha yana.
Ukuthola ukuthi complaint it was shooting in progress. Kuyenzeka uthola complaint kuthiwa shooting in progress. Mawufika lapha njengalapha nje safika kuthiwa shooting in progress. Masifika lapha umalume uthi kuthiwa kudubulene la and kuthiwa bekuliwa. So angazi kwenzakaleni basesibhedlela.
Okay, bambe lapho. When we received a complaint, it was conveyed to us as shooting in progress. And we arrived there, it was said it was a shooting in progress. We asked the uncle what had happened. He said to us that it's alleged that there was a shooting, it's alleged that they were fighting, now they are in hospital.
Now, Silindelo, what should we expect tomorrow that the court has now adjourned a little bit earlier than 3 o'clock?
So the reason we adjourned, Bradan, is the fact that there are questions around the timing as to how everything happened, how police arrived at the scene, what time they arrived at the scene, and usually police officers carry around pocketbooks which they record everything that they do at a particular crime scene from the moment they arrive, what they observe, etc. So I think what the defense is really trying to show here is just to try and pinpoint exactly when the first two police officers arrived on the scene and exactly the time frame in which everything unfolded, because we're already hearing some conflicting statements coming from the witness box in terms of the first two witnesses on when the forensic officers arrived, when the task team arrived. So the police officer, Sgt Mthethwa, says that he could still have that pocketbook. They keep them at the police station, so he will go and request it this afternoon so that tomorrow we can resume with cross-examination, Bradan.
Thank you very much. Silindelo Masikane inside the Pretoria court there, the North Gauteng High Court in the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial, which will continue tomorrow morning. A second witness is now on the stand, that's Sgt Mthethwa.